It's fun though, isn't it?
Prepare yourself for Roman's World.
Free your mind.
Welcome back to Roman's World. I'm Roman. Thanks for joining us here. In this hour, we're going to be hearing from Billy Sherwood from Yes, Circa, Yoso, and of course the Billy Sherwood Band. I had a chance to talk with Billy about all kinds of things, but we started off talking about last New Year's Eve and the project that both he and I were involved in. So here's part one of my conversation with Billy Sherwood. Thanks for joining us today, Billy. This is Billy Sherwood from Circa, who's joined us from his home studio. Now, Billy, I know you've been very, very busy lately. You've got a lot of different projects going on, and I want to cover all that. But right off the bat, let's go ahead and just kick things off with New Year's Eve. This past New Year's Eve, let's start there.
Thank you for having me. We did a Ustream concert, the first one ever for Circa, New Year's Eve, and it is actually available now for anyone who is interested to see the concert. You can actually go there and buy a ticket and through the archives watch the entire show, which is very cool. 2.5-hour show, tons of music, full production with sound and light and the whole 9 yards. So very cool thing to do, kind of an experiment for us and a new adventure, and one that we are looking into doing more of now that we've got our feet wet in it. So, and obviously, as you said, you were there that evening hosting, and we got to hang out together and talk to people all over the world, which was really cool. And, people from everywhere just tuning in. It was just an exciting new kind of thing. So it was cool to have you there, that's for sure.
That was an amazing night. Very intense experience. I know as we were counting down to go live, it was really electric. And everyone, kind of wondering what songs were going to be played and so on. But the chat box, that added a whole new element to the show as fans from all around the world were able to chat with each other during the show.
Yeah, I know. It's a very unique thing to have happen and, cutting edge in its way. I mean, obviously we're not the first to do it, but it's definitely a new thing going on. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see more and more of it, especially, as the world changes and it's united by the internet more and more every day. I think it's just going to become something you see more of. So we're excited about doing more shows. Right now we're talking about doing Tony and myself have a 2-man show, and we're going to be doing that one next. And I'm sure you'll be there attending and with us on that one.
That would be Tony K.
Yeah. And then I'm going to put together a show for my solo works, which we're working on now behind the scenes. And so there's a lot of cool things going on. It's a very artistic endeavor to go for it and try to create something basically out of nothing and broadcast it to the world. So I'm always interested in doing something like that.
Now, one of my favorite songs from New Year's Eve was definitely Cut the Ties.
Oh, cool.
Well, let's go ahead and play it now. This is Cut the Ties. This is actually from the New Year's Eve show, Live Circa. Here's Billy Sherwood. We also heard from guitarist Steve Hackett, who just released a CD with Yes bassist Chris Squire that we'll be featuring next week. The song was called She Said Maybe.
You're listening to Roman's World. Go to romansworld.us for playlists, interviews, and more great music.
Here's part 2 of our conversation with Billy Sherwood. The new CD is called What Was the Question? Tell us about the inspiration behind the CD, some of your favorite tracks. In fact, you can even pick the next song we're going to play.
In making that record, I didn't really know where I was going with the theme of the record, and I'm always trying to have some way to tie a theme in, so the songs flow, and they're in the same combination of ideas. So as I started writing things, I noticed for that record that I was writing a lot of things that were looking for answers in various ways, either politics or emotionally or in different ways. And so all of a sudden the idea came, and I wrote the song What Was the Question before I had the idea for the record. And by the time I looked at all the material and how it's looking at certain issues, it seemed like the obvious choice for the name of the record and an interesting title that no one had used yet.
Now, I know you usually have a lot of guest musicians and a lot of just great musicians playing on your projects, but this one's a little different, right?
Actually, they're all me. Yeah, on my solo stuff, I do it all because I play drums and bass and guitar and keys and all this stuff. It allows me the complete freedom to just take things a little farther out there than I might be doing with bands, where you're a little more controlled and looking for an opinion from someone else. And I'm holding back a little bit. In the solo realm, I find, especially now that, this is my fifth, I think, or fourth. The freedom to take it out there is it's wide open, and I'm comfortable with it now. I don't worry about being commercial, and I don't worry about someone else's opinion in the process. It's like painting almost, there's no one there but me.
Now, getting back to New Year's Eve, I was so glad you played my favorite song from the CD and so on, which is In My Sky. Great song, very emotional, both lyrically and musically. What's the story? I've always wondered, what is the story behind In My Sky?
Well, it's actually a song that I wrote for a very dear friend of mine who passed away. I lost in 2010. And, this guy was like my best friend for 30 years. Ah. And was a very close friend of my family and everything. And we lost him not suddenly, but, I was kind of in denial that it was coming, but we all knew it was coming. And he was telling me it was coming, and I wouldn't believe it for the longest time. As things got a little more serious with his condition, I started realizing, oh my God, this is actually happening. And I just grabbed my guitar that night and sat down and started playing this little piece and singing that thing, and it happened within 5 minutes, and there it was. And it was really, my message to my friend is really what it was.
Let's go ahead and listen to the original recording now. This is from the CD and so on. This is In My Sky.
This is Roman's World.
In my sky.
From 2004, that's the band Leahy, incredible band from Canada. 8 brothers and sisters have been playing music together for their entire lives. That was a song called Little Ditty from the CD In All Things. Before that, the new prog band Edison's Children, that's called In the Last Waking Moments. It's the title track from their CD. And we also played one of my favorite songs from Billy Sherwood and the band Circa. That was In My Sky from the CD and so on.
Here, it's all about the music. It's all about the song. You're in Roman's World.
We're talking with Billy Sherwood from Circa. Billy, getting back to the new CD, which is called What Was the Question, what track would you like to share with our listeners?
I'd say for now, check out Delta Sierra Juliet, which is a unique song. Usually, I'm writing everything by myself on my solo albums because I'm here by myself in my studio doing my thing. But in this one instance, there was a song that I had written with Jimmy Hahn, who was the original guitar player in Circa, and a lifelong friend. We wrote this song together many, many years ago, and it never really surfaced. And I always thought the storyline was unique, and it's a true story about a plane that disappeared. I believe it was 1972, and the flight name was Delta Sierra Juliet, so anyone interested can just Google it and find out the story. It's very, very compelling, and we ended up writing a song about it. It never really surfaced, as I said, so I decided to take it out and do something with it for the solo record. And at the time, it just so happened I was working on John Wetton's solo album, and he was here in my studio, and I asked him would he mind singing a couple things on this thing, just because I'd love to have him on my record, and he honored me that request. So you'll hear his voice on there as well, John Wetton, which is kind of unique to my records because usually, as we've discussed, I'm by myself. Right. So in this one case, John is on the record. His voice sounds wonderful, and it just adds a different texture to it.
This is Roman's World.
Thanks again to Billy Sherwood for visiting Roman's World. For the complete interview and all the links, go to romansworld.us. Also, make sure you like us on Facebook. Our debut show here, Roman's World, we really appreciate you, and we hope to see you again next week. Now, to subscribe to the podcast, you go to romansworld.us or go to iTunes.